little busy.
Okay. So, of course, at afternoon it gets tougher and tougher. Right. So this is the second panel of this afternoon, centered around the foods, agri, educations, infrastructure. Now, I have to make one announcement. Ranjan Roha of the Butler Power, he actually tried to come. He has some family emergency. He actually tried to solve that and then get on the airplane from Nepal. And he came halfway, and he have to reroute it back to Nepal. So it's, he couldn't show up today. But you can associate a little bit about that story with your story. You know, some of you had a hard time coming here. So, okay. So we're going to have 1 hour, and we have a panelist, the Mahesh from the Bakhresa grain mills, and he's the CEO, and then Leonidas Lopez from Uniminuto in Colombia. I never get your title right. Rector General, right? That's in Spanish. And Ikem Emelieze, is that the right pronunciation? Very close. Okay. Director and Interswitch. So I think I'm going to give you the floor, Mahesh, first. And then maybe if you can use the podium, you can use it. If you want to be there, we can help you too. Okay. Mahesh?
I'm given 10 minutes, so I'll quickly run through the presentation that I have. I'm presenting in 2 parts. The first one talks about our business model briefly. And Bakhresa grain milling, established in 2003, and we mainly process wheat grain into wheat flour and supply to various bakeries and biscuit companies. And for those of you who are not familiar with the flour milling industry, that's what we do. And the baking industry that we supply can be divided into 2 segments. One is a commercial, which comprises the bakery chains, standalone bakeries, in-store retail bakeries, biscuit and confectionery. And the base of the pyramid segment normally comprises artisan bakeries, rural mandasi. Mandasi is like a donut, and home baking. And the background, before we introduce this inclusive business model, the situation we are briefly giving you, and why we went for this inclusive business model. We want to establish a strong brand loyalty and create a sustainable competitive advantage for the company, and to expand the market base and distribution to achieve full capacity utilization. And today, we are leaders in branded wheat flour market in Malawi. Our clientele include commercial bakeries, distributors, wholesalers, supermarkets, small and artisan bakeries, and retailers. We ventured in direct distribution to reach out to the base of the pyramid, establish branches to enable small businesses underserved by distributors and located too far from the mill. And our base of the pyramid end buyers include women, HIV affected people, single mothers who earn a dignified living out of our flour. We reach out to these customers and educate on profitable usage of our wheat flour. And the challenges that we faced in the process. Malawi is one of the poorest countries, and people have very low purchasing power. And that is the biggest challenge, because you got to come up with a product that suits their pocket without compromising the quality that they need. And inadequate working capital. Sometimes they may afford, but they don't have enough working capital to buy and run their businesses. So that means they have to buy more frequently. Instead of buying and stocking them, they have to buy more frequently. And then high cost of distribution, because you will be going in places which are sometimes when it is rainy season, it's impossible to go there. And also, initially, we had a problem because it's very, very low volumes of sales. They didn't justify the cost of distribution, but we took it as an investment for promoting the new segment. And today, of course, we are meeting our distribution costs. And accessibility, it's very difficult to get them where they want the flower because they cannot come where you are. So we have to go where they are. And then also availability, because they would be buying more frequently, so you got to see that the stock is available all the time and everywhere. And also branding. See, in the past, before we came into the market, they used to buy as a commodity. The flower is like a commodity. They used to buy in the loose form, in the scoops. So they don't know who manufactured the flower and who supplies the flower. So they have no recourse to go back when there's a problem with the quality or shelf life. But now we are branding our flower, and the guy, the end user who is buying, he knows this flower is Assam flower supplied by Bakhresa Credit Milling. So they know who to ask. We have taken the consumer packs. So there is no need for them to buy in the loose form. They buy in the branded form. And also we need to build the capacity for them to understand how to not only storing and using the product, but also how they can run their businesses profitably. And how we solve those challenges, or how we face the challenges. We come up with a product that are tailored to the end use. And we try to optimize cost without compromising on the actual product that they're buying. So we try to cut all other costs which didn't add value to the product that they're buying. And also we come up with the convenient pack sizes like 10 kg. And in distribution, we introduced direct sales to base of the pyramid retailers. And then we also have van sales where there are no retailers there. So we directly retail to the people. We have a frequency of route. Like this particular route, we go weekly. Sometimes we go twice in a week. Sometimes we go twice a month, depending on the frequency and the volumes. So they know this particular day the van will come, and so they'll be ready with the money and they purchase. And also we open the branches near to the places so that it'll be easy for us to do the distribution through vans rather than doing from one central location. And how did we build the capacity? We have direct contact and communication with the BOPs, users, and also we have workshops and training programs. And also we conduct training for those in the supply chain on the sales tips and merchandising. And also we give them the supervisory training. And this is our distribution network. And these are our accomplishments. 20% of the sales now come from BOP segment. This is what we can directly see. Even the 80% also, some of them would be going to the BOP segment. And our BOP customer base is rapidly growing. We have 1,800 and 2,000 staff from 1,000 plus retail outlets received merchandising support. And also we have more than 1,000 bakery staff received business and technical training. And now we are market leaders, not only in volume, but also in brand loyalty. And what are our future goals? Opening few more branches to increase penetration, expanding direct distribution coverage from each of the branch offices to reach out to more people at base of the pyramid, conducting more workshops for BOP customers to promote wheat for consumption, and implementing this successful model in the other group companies. We have started implementing this model in a neighboring country, Mozambique, where we started operating early this year. And also we are expanding the product range to provide complete package for baking, so that there is no need for them to buy other things like yeast, sugar, those. So we want to give them like a one-stop shop. And what are the things we learned that we want people to keep in mind when they're going into serving this BOP? Base of the pyramid customers can neither afford high prices nor substandard quality, because there's a myth among many of the people that these BOP customers, they can't afford, so they cannot afford high quality, so they normally try to compromise the quality, giving them cheaper one, but they can't afford the inferior quality. In fact, they are the ones who pay for premium for the quality because they can't afford. Once they lose the product, they not only lose the product, they lose the business also, because they won't be having enough working capital to recoup the loss. High initial costs of reaching BOP is not an expense, but an investment in the future market. If you try and calculate to reach this market, this is what my cost. And if you look at like a trading deal, deal to deal, it won't make any sense. But if you take it as a market promotion, as an investment, in a new market, then it makes economic sense. So you got to take that as a investment, not an expense, the initial cost in reaching the BOP. The pull for basic food items come mainly from the BOP, more so in the emerging markets. Whether it's rich or poor, you have only one mouth to eat. So you have to go where number of mouths are there. Where more people are there, more consumption. And in Malawi, most of them are in the base of the pyramid. So our pyramid is not like this, it's like this. So you can't ignore. So whether it's difficult or easy, you got to reach them. And reaching BOP is not a social obligation, but a viable commercial option. We should not look at this as we are doing to a charity or service to them, but this is in our own interest, we got to serve them. Because growth is where base of the pyramid is, because the top is already saturated. Thank you. Now we'll go into the second part of my presentation. Now, we want you to understand the impact that our business model created on the ground. I'm going to give you the story of two women recently reported in the media. The first one is Mary Chibuya. Mary was deserted by her husband with 5 children to look after. She used to collect firewood and sell them to feed and clothe her 5 children, but that was not enough. She resorted to working as a sex worker for fishermen on the shores of Lake Malawi in her village Lozi to earn livelihood. She had no choice as she had to feed a family of 6, and she risked HIV infections, abused by the fishermen, and sometimes they don't even pay also, because after having the pleasure of her flesh, sometimes people refuse also to pay. She has no way to go. And then second woman is that Mary Chibuya. Things change now. Coming back to the after business model, how it changed her life. Now things changed when she was introduced to baking scones with wheat flour. Empowered with the skills of baking, today she goes to the same fisherman, but now she sells them scones and has a dignified earning. She could afford fertilizers with the profit that increased the yield of maize in her fields. The profit has helped her for her children's schooling. Now she's not only having a dignified living, but she's able to send her children to school also. This is what the story. And the second one is the Grace Kita. She lives in the outskirts of Blante, that is a commercial capital of Malawi, in a village called Chajunda. She was married to a driver and became a housewife. Her household needs always took a back seat due to various priorities of the husband. Often she would end up begging her husband for money. She suffered in silence like any other woman in Africa. And then she somehow borrowed Malawi kwacha 500 from her husband after lots of cajoling to buy 2 kgs of wheat. She started this business with 2 kg of wheat flour, taking 500 kwacha from her husband. And she started making mandasi and sold them in the local market. Then life has slowly taken a different shape. And she has been able to build a house on her own without an external financial help. And she has diversified into chicken and pig farming, and all her children now go to school. Moreover, she inspired 12 other women in her village to replicate her business model. She is a role model in that village, and the 12 other women in the same village tried to follow her footsteps successfully. And this is how Mandasi transformed the lives. From the one women success story, how inspired the many other women to follow. This is not restricted to only 2 women. The story of many Malawians is similar. What we just saw is the story of just 2 women. There are many such examples where wheat flour has enabled people at the base of the pyramid live a dignified life. Many such success stories are the driving force behind our continued efforts to serve base of the pyramid. Following a few more success stories reported recently in the media. I don't want to go through them because time. Then this is also a very interesting story from Lopez to Bakhresa. There are many women, they are now having economic empowerment thanks to our wheat flour and support from the NGOs who trained them how to make baking goods. And this is about our training. This is how we normally conduct workshops. You can see the crowd. And this is a testimony of how it really changed our training. These are actually a coalition of women with HIV and AIDS. These are people who are living with HIV, and they formed a group. These women formed a group, and we trained them how to use the wheat flour. And within 3 months, how successful they were. They increased the volume by 50%. And they also improved their thing. See, what they used to do is, because they can't afford, they thought because they have to make it cheaper, they used to blend our wheat flour with a local maize flour, and they used to make. And we went there, we told them that is not the correct one. Why are you mixing? Because then they said no, because we can't afford. Then we showed them doing without mixing and with mixing, and actually they save money by using only wheat flour without mixing maize flour. Because when they're mixing maize flour, they may be saving on the flour, but they're losing on the oil because it takes more oil. And also the mandasi doesn't stay long, and people don't buy. It's not tastier, it's different, and it doesn't stay long. So after starting this one, they have seen that. So they wrote back to us saying that thanks to us, now they are able to improve their business volumes. And the effort continues. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mahesh. The first time you saw that photo of women with the, how you call it, this the baking machine, which is actually the bricks. I was kind of really, struck by the fact that, the usual mind of, doesn't really go, as far as I'm concerned, go far enough to imagine. Because first time he said bakery, I thought this is like, bakeries in my country. It's beautiful, bakeries out around there, Einstein bagels, whatnot. But when he said baker, is actually, that's a photo of a woman with that brick oven. So that's so I realized that when we communicate with the people from the part one, was the OECD countries, and talking to the donors, for example, our shareholders, we say baker or bakeries, and they don't get it. We have to have a translation in between, and then we can talk about capacity building, etc., etc., and then they will get it. So thank you so much. I think actually opened my eyes. Let me move to actually Leonidas. Right? And the stories from the Latin America, Colombia.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a real exceptional to have the opportunity to learn about some other experiences from different countries, from different sectors. Well, we are in education in Colombia and Uniminuto University. And Colombia is in South America, as I suppose many of you know. We have 42 million people. Per capita income in it's only 7,000 if you compare with some other countries in the region. The Colombian income distribution is one of the most world's unequal. The Gini indicator is not very good. I mean, it's better Brazil or Mexico. And our population under poverty line is 34%. It's very big, as you can imagine. Unemployment rate is improving, but anyway, it's about 10%. There is not a public supply of higher education. And although there are many private sector institutions, they don't supply enough education. The gross coverage rate in higher education, it's only 39%. I mean, if you compare with some other regions in Latin America, some other countries in our continent, it's not very good. Our university is a higher education institution, 69,000 students in this year. We have 11 campuses and 42 region centers. This student projection, we start since a few years ago with a specific strategy, and the result are this. We increase in a good way in the last 7 years, and we hope to increase for a few more years like this. This is a big institution for Colombian condition, but it's not a big institution if you can see the international type of education. This is very important. It's the model of education we're using. It's based on the integral formation of the student. I mean, we work in human development, social responsibility, and then we give professional competences. But this is one of what we consider is a good factor in our development, this type of model of education. We have a big academic offer compared with some other universities in Colombia. We offer 124 programs with different methodology and different academic degrees. I mean, we use long-distance learning, e-learning, traditional learning, and our degree are professional, technical, professional, technological degree, university or postgraduate. As you can see, we are not a postgraduate university, but we are more university to prepare technical and technological students for the working labor market. Our students are in the low income level according to the Colombian classification. You see, the higher level is number 6, and we work in level 1 or 2. That's meaning the base of the pyramid. Our focus is that type of education, and I suppose is part of our good result, because we are offering education where there are not so many other institutions. Our job for graduates is a very good results. If we see on the right, 79% of the students graduate from the system in Colombia. The national average is that 79% they have a formal job. In our case, it's 82%. That means that our graduate, they have a good possibility of formal jobs. The inclusive business model, we have here a description. We are a non-profit university, but that means that we are not for loss, because according to Colombian regulation, any university can be for profit. But we use this private model, and that's why we are considered like in this type of organization. We have high quality technical and university education in Colombia. Target, I mentioned before, lower income student, and low fees, and we hope to use a lot of technology to be present in many places. And we always talk that our students are a social change promoters. That means that this social part is very important in the type of education we are offering. The drivers of this model is the economic and social growth in Colombia. I mean, we have been improving in the last 10 years. New commercial strategy based on free trade agreement. I mean that Colombia is a little bit more international according to this trade agreement. Not public supply of education or higher education, and the private one is expensive one. It's more one type of target, and it's very expensive for BOP persons. And beside that, is a limited supply of technical and technological programs to supply the needs of the productive sector. There are many programs, and university program, let's say, and not in technical and technological professional. That is our main focus. The results of today, approximately 69,000 students, 66% women, and 68% from the lowest 2 quintiles of the population by income. Women is very important because we go to many places where there are not many opportunities for women. We offer that opportunity, and it's very successful to go to many places with programs, university programs, that can be taken by the woman. We always say that the future of our country depends on the women. That's why we want to stress opportunity for women. And beside that, we are growth rate in the last 6 years, it's 26%. We don't expect to be growing at the same rates, but this is very different to the growth of the education in Colombia. And, well, something very terrenal. We expect to have a double-digit revenue growth since 2011. That means that our results have been improving in the last years. The relevance to labor market needs, as you can see, there is a deficit of technological training in Colombia. I mean, the labor requirement is not fulfilled with the educational offering. So we are located in this middle-level technician, qualified workers, and some in the middle management. So what we think is that anyone who can analyze these needs of the country and can define what type of program are offering. We are offering more technical and technological, and I think it's a very good bet to work in that area. We got this year the G20 Challenge on Inclusive Business Innovation, the winner with this context, and what we understood that the criterion of selection it was, first, we offer educational accessible to people at the base of the pyramid. Second, lower tuition fees. Third, long-term student loans. We have a very strong system of loans. Academic programs according to the needs of each region where we are present, and social work required for graduation. That means that all our students have to belong to a social project. And this is very important because a student who passed for a social project is a different student. And we are very proud to have this that in some way define the type of graduate are we having. To obtain all this, we have some strategies for a growth as inclusive university. The first one is a regional expansion. We are present in these sites in Colombia, 42 sites, and in many regions with the long-distance virtual and presential education. That is a good, we have an important presence in all our regions in Colombia. We have 11 campuses, 69,000 students. The other strategy, the second one, is the high quality. We taught high quality not only in the educational and academic, but in the research and in the use of technology to apply to education. Well, we have all these qualified register, voluntary accreditation, and institutional accreditation. That's the system of quality, academic quality in Colombia. We are quite following this path. In research, although we are not a research university, we are more a teaching university. We have many research groups to support the quality of the teaching and to support the possibilities of the social work we do in many parts of the country. We look for the financial quality. That means that if you compare this with some other universities in Colombia, this is not as good as the other ones. But this is good enough to work with the BOP population. I mean, with a big number of students in many regions with a good offer, this is important percentage of the corporate income. Another strategy is relevance and alliances to productive sectors. We work with many sectors, with coffee, oil palm, microcredits, construction, rice, BPOs. That means that we offer programs very adequate to the needs of the private sector. And not only to the needs, but they belong, they are our ally to offer these programs. We have low tuition. This means that we have, according to the region, if it's in the main campus, other campus, or distance or virtual, and according to if it's technical programs or technological programs or university programs, we define the price of the fees. But generally speaking, we offer a very important subsidized system. We have a very important subsidized system according, to the average of the fees of the Ministry of Education. That means that we have some fees that they authorize, and we have important subsidies. Sometimes 61%. That means that if we go to one region, it's a poor region, we can discount 61% of the approved fee. And we, in some way, this is something that allows us to be relevant in many regions. Well, minimum legal wage in Colombia is 315 per month, and our students, monthly tuition is about $60. Educational financing, we have a strong system, and as you can see on the right, in 2012, we are going to offer this year 56,000 of loans for about $36 million. That means that the financial aspect is a very big limitation for the students in Colombia. With this type of system that is a cooperative system, the students are the owners of the system, it is possible to avoid this limitation. And this is an important operation. From here, we receive many supports. We go to some financial institution. We operate some other credit funds in order to give more possibility to our students. So this is one of the very strong facility we have for the student to join education. And we have another strategy. This is in some way very new. We talk about social innovation, science, and technology. That means that we work a lot in education for development. That means that we don't want to be only a teaching university, but we want to be a university who helps the country to solve the problems. That means that with social innovation processes, we are identifying what type of problem we can solve using our researcher, using our students, our teachers. We have now a scientific social innovation park. Tomorrow I'm going to give you some information to some of you, because what we pretend is to be solving problems that limit the condition of people, life, and communities. And we have some mechanic. It's a good relation between the government, the sector, productive sector, the universities, and we define what type of solution we want to create around this social innovation park, that they are according to the needs of the country. So in some way, what we want to promote is to become one institution that help the country to solve their own problems. And now we want to mention the lesson we learned and the challenges. The first is we had to approach the client deserving for higher education. It's not very common to use the word client in education, but this is the way to understand. I noticed that everyone here talked that we have to be very close to the client. And this is something that we learned since the beginning, and it has been very successful. Uh, Tuition should be appropriate to the student pocket. I mean, you cannot go to BOP population with high tuition. You have to design the tuition cost according to the level of income of your population. It is important to have a good educational credit system, and the university should be involved in the educational loans. I mean, we have the capacity to design and to go to many situations in order to obtain financing for our students. We use quality virtual and distant education, allowed us to go to many places. And the university must be near or in the school in the last 2 grades. In Colombia, the missing link between higher education and university education, we have a program where we go to the high school, and in the last 2 years of the high school, the student can take some academic credits to articulate with the higher education. It has been very, very successful, especially in faraway regions, this type of programs. And quality is something that we learn. Quality is an imperative. We have to be good, not only in the academic, but in the economics, in the finances, in the system we are using. Quality is the main promoter of our university. Quality pays. That means that every single cent you invest in quality, it play a very important role in the university. And the quality should be not only in the academic, but financial, technological, and management. Teachers are backbone of the quality, not protagonists. Maybe I can say this in this scenario, but not in many others, because sometimes the university are always around the teachers, but they are very important. There's many other aspects that you have to look after. And technology is vital to support the quality. The other lesson is relevance. The program should be relevant to local and regional development. Program must be living curriculum according to the needs of the productive sector. That means that the productive sector had to be inside the university. They have the capacity to decide and to design the program they need. And this is something that many universities, they are not doing this. It's very common to have people from the productive sector in our university. Increase or focus on user services rather than an academic product. I mean, it's more our students, our teachers, our employers. We have to focus all the services of the university and not only to have a very good program, academic program. It's more to go on the client, as we can say that. Institutional accreditation is high quality, and create the social innovation park. I'm talking now about the challenges. I meant to establish international links. We hope that with this type of participation, we can identify this concept of social innovation. For instance, in social innovation means new processes to solve problems of BOP population, to solve problems of the people. It is very curious, but we find that this concept of social innovation is very well known in many developed countries, England, Japan, Canada. That means people thinking how to solve problems of the people, but to solve problems that increase the quality of living and extend the new model of educational financing. Use new technology. We hope someday we can, our challenge is to transfer or reply the Uniminuto model to some region abroad. We have been in contact with some people in Africa or in Latin America, but we think that we have the capacity to transfer. That means that if we can find who received the transfer, then it will be a good opportunity, not only for us, but for the people who receive this traffic. And we hope to get international financing. That's why I always look into Toshi. I don't know where is him. Look, he's okay. Thank you very much. We have many other information. I want to say that IFC has been very important for our development. A few years ago, we asked for financing to our project, and they were present. And although we spent 3 or 4 years before we can adjust our institution to IFC condition, after that it has been marvelous, because in some way they are following us, we are asking them, and it has been an improvement, very, very important. So part of our successful had to be with Toshi and Erico and all the people who go many times to Colombia to check what are we doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonidas. Actually, we haven't talked this much during the day, but Leonidas, since you mentioned about G20 Inclusive Business Challenge, we actually surveyed all the applicants who applied to the G20. And one of the points raised is about the challenges they face was actually to get the really high quality workforce, because they're trying to grow their business and they always have this staffing issue. And that's why I think that the education aspect is very important. And particularly the ones which actually provides the students to have the opportunity to get a job at the graduation. That's actually, it's quite important aspects of this helping the inclusive business grow. And the another point, as I realize, is if I talk to the financial sector side of the people, the banks who are arranging the student loans, from their perspectives, actually, students who are getting the job upon graduation is actually, for them, is a very good way of risk management of their loans. So, from that aspect too, from the financial sector side, is okay, so if the university is doing well in getting the students to have a job, actually they like that aspect, because that's the way, actually the best way to manage their risk of the loans. Anyway, okay, so let's turn to Ikem, and I think you don't have the presentation, or you want to talk? Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's pretty late in the day now, so I don't want to torture you with another PowerPoint slide. It's been a long day. I'll change the format a bit, if you permit me. I just flew in yesterday, so it's been a long, long trek to get here. My name is Ikem Emelieze, CTO of Interswitch Limited. We're located in Nigeria. We're a payment processing company. We're the de facto switch in the company, which means we connect all the ATMs in the country together. Quick question. How long have you been using ATMs in Japan? Quite long. 10 years? 20, 30? 30 something. Okay. I'm asking the question just to put Interswitch in context. We're a 10-year-old company. We're just 10 years this year. So that tells you we didn't have ATMs in the last 10 years. And Interswitch didn't get formed and ATMs started working. It took a while. I think ATMs have started working to a part where it's been used a lot now in the last 6, 7 years. And I have seen how it has transformed lives. Just earlier on, I had a conversation with my fellow countryman, Deji, of Food Concepts. And during the discussion, he said, Nigeria is actually a BOP country. We're trying to zoom in beyond the country, into the country itself. But if you look at it, the country in generality is a BOP country. And so some of the things we do, we can zoom down to the lower level within the country and say we're trying to reach the bottom of the pyramid, but in helping the country itself and lifting the country, I think we can help more people. Let me thank the organizers, the IFC, for this forum. It's been very informative for me. It's very inspiring. I've heard different stories. I was listening to the folks talking about the Manila water, and that brought back memories to me. Growing up as a child in Nigeria, we had running water. So it's interesting now, so many years later, we don't have running water. Growing up in Nigeria, we had a generator for standby electricity when I was growing up. Now, we can't even use our national electricity for standby. It just almost doesn't exist. We run on generators for the most part. So when I read one of the profiles, and one of the gentlemen there was creating portable electricity and taking it to rural areas using rice feed husks. That was very inspiring, because I think those are the ways we can influence change and bring progress and spread across. There are many examples I've heard today that has really inspired: education, baking, giving people a source of livelihood. Forums like this, I wish could occur more at a lower level, but I really appreciate what you guys are doing here. So specifically, bottom of the pyramid things Interswitch has done. We have a prepaid card called the Verve. So Verve is a domestic card scheme which was created by Interswitch at the point where Visa or MasterCard would not come to Nigeria for many reasons: infrastructure challenges, security, and every reason most businesses or some businesses will not come to Nigeria. Nigeria, by the way, is 160 million people. Quite a lot. It's a good market. We are oil rich. It's been a gift and a curse. I forget the term the IFC gentleman there used, I think a resource curse. We're hoping at some point we'll reach a flipping point where Nigeria will take off. I personally believe, and I agree with Deji when he said once we figure out the power situation, a lot of things will progress. Interswitch believes we are from the technology angle. We think technology can leapfrog some of our challenges. Well, another example is when I was growing up, we had landlines. You could pick up the phone. Sometimes you get a dial tone, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you leave it for a couple of minutes. I don't know why we used to do this, to make the dial tone come quicker, but it somehow worked. It got to a point where landlines were not working anymore. It just stopped working. And before the cell phone companies came into Nigeria, it was just becoming more challenging. You see people lining up to make phone calls, to call international, or to call even locally. And then the MTNs, Airtels, and all the other telecoms company came to the country, and now everybody has a cell phone. It's actually cheaper to call the US and abroad from Nigeria than them calling you. Just flipped it around. So we also believe with technology, we can leapfrog and bring progress to the country. Back to the Verve card I was talking about. The unbanked in Nigeria is still very high. So when Visa, MasterCard refused to, or didn't find Nigeria appealing to come to invest as a country, we started a domestic card scheme, primarily first to serve the customers of the banks. We connected all the banks together. Different banks that had the capacity started building their own ATMs, but they were limited. Before Interswitch, you could only get your money from your bank if you had an account in that bank. Post Interswitch now, you can get money from your account from any bank because we connect all the banks together. So the Verve card I was referring to is a domestic card scheme, primarily based in Nigeria, but we're trying to go to other countries where a lot of Nigerians go to for acceptance. Since then, Visa and MasterCard have come into Nigeria, and most recently, China UnionPay has come into Nigeria. We process all the transactions for MasterCard and also for China UnionPay. Another way we support the bottom of the pyramid is by helping microfinance banks. We noticed they didn't have the resources to build their own, what we call front-end processors, which helps ATM transactions. So what we did was build a platform where they could more or less rent space. The terminology these days is cloud computing. So we've enabled them have a platform without making that initial investment, capital investment, giving them an OpEx model where they could just connect using our software and now have connectivity to all the banks in Nigeria. These are microfinance banks that probably just have one branch somewhere. But by definition, their reach to the BOP is very, very high. They focus on specific areas within the BOP. Please feel free to stop and ask questions so that we can make this a bit more interactive. I know it's pretty late in the day. Okay? Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ikem. So 30 years ago, my first formal job was working at a commercial bank here. And my first job, the first job they gave me was actually counting money whole day. And part of that job, I was stocking up the money in the ATMs. So that's my first job. And then I realized how far the world have come, because the last session we talked about the crowd funding, and now you're talking about the cloud computing. And also I noticed that I still use the paper as my speaking note, but there is the Ikem. I noticed that you're using the BlackBerry for a speaking note. So that's how far the world has come. Okay, so we got few minutes, but before we go to the next session. But if you have the questions, open the floor. Nigel.
Three very good presentations, thank you. So I had two questions on the same topic to Mr. Lopez Heran, the Rector General. So they're both about the same thing, really. So one, you talked about the way you've tried to integrate the productive sector into the university. Could you tell us a bit more about how that actually functions? Because as you know much better than us, many countries are full of vocational training institutions that get very poor market signals and equip students with skills that don't get them jobs. So in practical terms, how do you make that happen? And the second related question is whether you do a tracking system for your students to see what jobs they get and for how long they keep the jobs, and for how many years do you track your ex-students?
By the way, Nigel is the actually boss of the Roland, who actually introduced himself as chief results measurement specialist. So.
Okay. Well, Colombia defined the world-class sectors. That means the sector that they were promoting to export and to become some type of driver of the development. And with that definition, we, the universities, and using financial from the government, we designed the common needs for the productive sectors. Let's say coffee. Coffee is one sector of Colombia in that sense. So there is some specific methodology, alliances with the coffee producers, the universities, and the government and the local governments to design what type of human resources need the coffee sector. And the productive sector, they put the knowledge, university, we put the, let's say the educational form, and the government put the money to promote that. And in that way, there have been many specific academic programs designed to attend the needs of the productive sector. But this is one national project. On the other side, we, in our boards of directors or on any place in the 42 places, we have always a product sector representative I mean, not only invite them to go the day that they don't have anything to do, but they belong to our organization. They belong to the curriculum committees, so in some way we are very close to them. I will say that there are the 2 or 3 main strategies to be very close to the productive sector. The second, there is a national system to evaluate and to follow where are the students of where are the graduates of the higher educational system. It's not, let's say, our own system, but it's a national system. When somebody graduates, you have to report the person, and they check according to the payment that they are doing to Social Security. They check where are the students or where are the graduates, what are they doing. So in some way, this belongs to the government, and this is the way that we, generally speaking, we can follow what are our students doing. Although we have some specific, another type of relation with the graduate. But it's a national system to do where are the students with a lot of information. You can know where are they working, how much are they earning, in what part, where they move from one side to another. So it's in some way a good system to follow the graduates.
Okay, thank you. Any more? I think we have to move to the next session. So thank you so much, Mahesh, Leonidas, and Ikem.
Thank you all very much. Panel session 2, Agribusiness, Infrastructure and Education will now close.